All right. Thank you for that. Let's start again. Good evening and welcome to Our Voices. Today is Sunday, August the 18th, and we thank you for tuning in today. I am Derek Scott. I am going to be pitch hitting for Mr. Jerry McIntosh, who is away traveling, celebrating the birthday of his brother. So, Mr. McIntosh, safe travels. We hope that your brother has an enjoyable birthday. But we thank you for joining us this weekend. Host, how is everybody doing today?
Excellent, excellent.
Good,
Good,
thank
good,
you.
good. I am going to start by just saying we've had an awesome week and just sharing a couple of things so that we are, everybody's all set and ready to go. For this week, what I will say is, again, to remind everybody that we are in the middle of an uptick on COVID. I know we talk about it, we stopped talking about it because we've gotten a lot more comfortable, but it does not mean that it has gone away. And I want to remind everybody to please make sure that they stay vigilant. Make sure that if you have not yet scheduled your booster shot or your vaccination, please make sure that you do so. You can do that at any local pharmacy, whether you're in Escambia, Santa Rosa, Okaloosa, Walton, any points in Alabama. You may be able to go to the health department in Mobile, but I am not 100% sure. But certainly, please make sure you do that. Don't forget to social distance, wear a mask, and wash your hands and sanitize as much as possible. I am going to then introduce the rest of our co-hosts. We are here with the wonderful state committee woman for Okaloosa County Democratic Party, the treasurer of the Democratic Black Caucus of Florida, as well as every other committee under FDP's umbrella, Ms. Jill Lewis-Daggs.
Good evening.
We've got our host and author extraordinaire from the projects to the boardroom, Mr. Bill Snow. And we are always privileged to join and have with us the owner of WBQP, veteran, beloved Democrat, and friend, Mr. Vernon Watson. Mr. Vernon, how are you today, sir?
I'm well. Is my mic
Good.
on? Yeah, okay. Yeah,
Yep,
I
we
am
can
well.
hear you just fine. We are with, for those, you're used to seeing a full panel. We still wish our host, Christina Forrest, speedy recovery as she is out, still trying to recover from her procedure. So we wish her a speedy recovery, and we can't wait to have you back with us to join us in our everyday exploits as we talk. So as we go through, I think Cheryl is going to be joining us shortly. As you know, she's got a very busy schedule as well. So she said she'll try to get on once she is available. So I will turn it over to go through our weekly updates. Mr. Vernon, what do you have for us today?
The only thing I have today is that I want folks to go out on Tuesday and vote for Stanley Campbell. He's probably going to be the first name for on the ballot for U.S. Senate. I think that you would be well pleased with him if we can get him elected. Stanley Campbell, remember that name, Stanley Campbell. He has some connection to Pensacola. His brother lived here for a long time, Harry Nouveau. Bill, did you know Harry?
Harry?
Yeah, Harry Nouveau.
No, sir.
Okay, but anyway, he was a well-known entity in this community, and he we lost him about 5 or 6 years ago because he was a landlord, and he went to check on one of his tenants one day, and he was murdered.
No.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, for those folks that's in Pensacola that knew, and he was well known that know him. Stanley is his brother that's running for the U.S. Senate, and Stanley is also an individual that spent some time here. He was in the Navy. He was a Navy pilot. Came here for his training, and all those that don't know that he is also the brother of Luke Campbell, the
Uncle
uh,
Luke?
yeah, Luke Skywalker. Initially, what he called himself, Luke Skywalker, but Luke Campbell, the Two Live Crew. You know, if you don't know who Luke who is the two
Easy for you
live
to
crew,
say.
you know, Me So Horny. That song. So, but anyway, he's a brother of it, and I encourage people to go out and vote for Stanley Campbell. That's it for me.
All right, I'm going to save mine to encourage people to go do a different vote for that.
Okay.
But I think we'll talk about that as we move forward. Because well, as I will quickly say and continue to say, as chair, because it does say chair of the Democratic Party does not take sides endorsing one candidate over another when there is a primary election. So I want to be clear for that, and I think I would echo the same for Jill in her capacity as state committee woman. Now, if I take all of my hats off and just say I'm going to be just Derek today, I will say that is absolutely not the choice that I would make. I would tell everybody, and I have been for those who have asked me to select Debbie McParshall Powell, because we do want to have the best person that has the best ability to unseat Rick Scott. And in this case, although I absolutely like Mr. Stanley Campbell, he's a great individual, he just is not going to be able to beat Rick Scott with that. So, I will say another, but I'm sure we'll talk about it as we go through our candidates there. Jill, what do you have for us today?
Good evening, everyone. So first, I have to ask Derek, as you're doing this, are we just giving out what's going on, or you want us to go into the voting thing, or we're waiting for the voting thing?
So let's just go what's going on, and then we'll go through the voting.
Okay. So in Okaloosa County, of course, early voting just ended. And so many people have been working to try to make sure that everybody got the information that they needed. We're going to go over that information later. On the 24th, there is a postcarding. It's on Mobilize. We'll share it with you. And it is a postcarding for yes on Amendment 3 and Amendment 4. And we are excited really just for the momentum that is in our county. There's a lot more going on. There's a lot of volunteers, people that we haven't seen in years since really the Obama time are coming, they're calling, they're getting involved, engaged, from bankers to the everyday person to those people who literally have been waiting for this type of momentum. Those that were out and about and worked hard to get Obama elected, not once, but twice, and then kind of sat back a little bit, whether because they were tired or they thought we had it or they were just disappointed. They are now engaged, invigorated, excited. And so I just, it's a good time to be in our counties, all three of them right now, because the feeling of the love, the hey, let's put, for most of us anyway, let's put all of the other things aside and do what we need to do to make sure that on November 5th that we have, August 20th, we have our local, and then November 5th, we have the right people in place so that our lives can move forward and not backward, and that we make sure that we have a safe place for our children and grandchildren. So that's all I have right now, but much, much more to come. And I will hand it back to you, Derek. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jill. We appreciate that. Mr. Bill Snow, what do you have for us today?
Well, first of all, I want to tell Jerry to turn up, enjoy himself, let his hair down, and enjoy. He deserves it. I know that this is his baby, and justifiably so, the McIntosh principle. So relax if you get a chance to watch this and enjoy yourself. Now, what I have is a flashback to last week's show. I've had a very, very uneasy week because of the simple fact that Mr. Derek called a friend of mine out on the show, and me being who I am, after the show, asked him if it was okay for me to call my friend out on what he called her out on, or should I just leave it alone? And he told me to just leave it alone. Since he brought it up on the show, I only thought it was fitting that this week, after careful prayer and consideration, to readdress it. I left it alone, family. But Tuesday night, I received a phone call from my friend, and I did not go there. She said she had an idea that she wanted to pitch. I listened to it, and she told me she was going to call Derek the next morning and that she would call me back to let me know how the pitch went. After I didn't hear from her, figured the pitch didn't go well. But what I wanted to make clear is that I am, first of all, a friend and a man of my word. I didn't rehash it, but I think some kind of way somebody told her she needed to watch that show. But I didn't open it up. I left it alone. She didn't open it up, so I didn't open it up. But I want you guys to know and everybody to know.
Yeah, and I just want to say to you, it's funny that you say that, because this is a great example of what I would consider to be typical behavior, because she told you she was going to reach out to me and talk about whatever. My phone has not rang.
Okay.
From that. So
well, then it had to be a fishing expedition then, which is what I felt when I looked at my caller ID. But let me be really clear, guys. Let me be clear, and if she's watching, she's known me well enough to know that I don't play games, and I do not like somebody because somebody else doesn't like them. I don't do that. I don't play. So after I didn't hear from her, I thought, well, she called you, and the conversation did not go well. But now I'm clear in the air because y'all, I'm just who I am. I'm real. I'm at face value. I'm not going to say something to Derek and go back, and then I'm not going to say something to her and come back. But after I didn't hear from her, I just wanted my point of view out here because I don't know what was or was not said.
My phone did not.
That's how I roll.
My phone did not ring, did not get a voicemail, not a text, not any type of but that, if you see Jill's head shaking, that's typical behavior.
I got you.
We're gonna leave it at that. But
okay, fair enough.
Yeah. If there's now I'll be clear. Now we'll say it, and I'll say it just because I'm on air and in mind, I stand on what I say. There's a point in time that there's a need that the conversation wants to be had. We can have the conversation. But I'm just saying in general, because if to the point that not between you and I, that's not
no, you're talking about between you and her.
Because I'm 100% positive someone said, "Oh, you need to watch." I'm 100% positive that happened.
Her conversation with me was not bad towards you. I wouldn't talk. I wouldn't stand it that way nor the other way. So no.
Yeah. So no, we get it. I appreciate that. Jill's about to say something.
Yes. So, Mr. Scott, we got all that. Bill, you're fabulous, and we know you're a man of your word, and we just appreciate you for being who you are. At this time, I would ask, what does Escambia have going on?
So we are. The first thing I want to share with everybody is that, in terms of, we just had an event. Shout out to, well, let me rephrase. I was able to participate in an event with at Damascus Road yesterday to make sure that people were registered to vote. People were registered. Damascus Road Baptist Church, well, I should say. To make sure that people were registered to vote. They had an event. And so that, I think they had a great turnout. Shout out to those who hosted and facilitated that. It's a great turnout yesterday. And as what Jill would say, the energy and the excitement around the election is palpable, and certainly all around. Now, as we talk about it, as I think the next thing that we go through, I would say the energy and excitement, and I would qualify that statement by saying the energy and excitement around the general election is outstanding and palpable, because we still have some work to do in this primary election. As we all know, primary election day for the state of Florida is this Tuesday, the 20th. We have concluded all of our early voting across the state. In some cases that ended today, or should be, well, in every case, it should already be over, because 7 o'clock, I think, is the latest, even if you're on Central Time, and certainly past beyond for Eastern Time. they are beyond that time. So early voting is concluded. For those of you all who need to vote by mail, you still have that ability. What I would tell you all is to not to turn in not vote and put your ballot in the mail, but actually take it to your supervisor of elections office. If you have, whether you're in Escambia County, Santa Rosa, Okaloosa, Walton, please make sure you get that ballot if you plan to vote by mail into the supervisor of elections office, because you don't want to run the risk of it arriving after the deadline, which is August 20th, so that your vote counts. So please make sure you get whatever methodology you need to get it to the supervisor of elections. You can do so. In Escambia County, we have only one, and that's located on Palafox on the second floor, right there at Palafox and Government, where you go in for the Board of County Commissioners. So if you are interested in turning your ballot in there, Okaloosa and Santa Rosa County I think they have more than one location for their SOEs, if I'm not mistaken. But if you would, Jill, would you share what you have? I'm sorry, Bill, if you could share what you have for Santa Rosa, and we'll go from that standpoint.
Okay, I would love to share for Christina. Christina, if you're watching, get well. We miss you very, very much. Okay, for Santa Rosa County, they have 40 precincts. They have 20,936 Democrats, 85,722 Republicans, 31,545 other, for a total of 138,203 potential voters, y'all. That's astonishing, because when I think of I think of it as such a small, but when you talk about registered voters, that's pretty phenomenal. Now, the unofficial voter turnout for early voting is the following: of the 138,203 potential voters, 18,092 have voted already. That's 13.9% turnout, 13.09 as a matter of fact, at this time for early voting, which ended on Saturday. Your vote by mail ballots must be returned in office by 7 p.m. on Election Day, Tuesday, August 20. If you are overseas and voting in a federal election, your ballot may be postmarked by the date of the election, and we must receive it within 10 days of the election on Tuesday, August 20th. Polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Now, if you are in line by 7 p.m., you will be allowed to vote. So don't get discouraged. If you're close to the precinct, don't turn around. All you have to do is be in line and you get to vote. But those are some amazing numbers that Santa Rosa has that many people, because in my mind, I just couldn't conceive that they have that many people. But boy, the Republicans, woo-hoo.
Absolutely. But if you see that, would you say 14.9% voter turnout?
No, it was 13.
13.
Let's see here. Let me get back to my numbers here. That was 13.09%. Yeah, turnout at the time for early voting, which ended on Saturday.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Jill, what do you have?
So I'm going to give the same similar report, and then I think after Derek gives the one for Escambia, we can maybe break this down and see where we really need to be. But for Okaloosa County, we have 24,691 Democrats. We have 83,516 Republicans, 37,917 others, for a total of 146,124 potential registered voters. That's as of July 22nd, 2024. For our early voting numbers, of that 146,125 potential voters, we have 18,681 that have voted either by vote by mail or early voting, which is 12.78% turnout. We also, just to kind of go over our actual ballot, we have now a universal, what they call universal ballot or open primary, because in many of our races, there is only a Republican, no write-in, no other party affiliated person. So therefore, on our ballot, other than the Senate race for Debbie, Stanley, or Rod, we only have, if you're a Democrat, you vote. Everybody's voting for everybody. So we strongly suggest you do your homework and that you look at the potential candidate that's going to be best for all of us. As Bill said, for Santa Rosa, Okaloosa County is the same with your vote by mail ballot. It needs to be in by 7 p.m. at either one of the two SOE offices. We have two, one in Crestview, one in Shalimar, by 7 p.m. on August 20th. And if for some reason, if you are overseas, again, same thing he said, for us, you have, it has to be postmarked by that date and it must be received within 10 days. And our polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. If you are in line by 7 p.m., you absolutely will be able to vote. They will leave the doors open. They will count, though, at 7:01. Anybody that comes after that will not be able to vote. But if you're in line at 7 p.m., even if you don't get to vote till 7:30, you will be eligible and allowed to vote. And Okaloosa County has 52 precincts. And if you have any question on where you need to vote, you can go to either voteokaloosa.gov or you can call one of the two telephone numbers. I'll give you both, 651-7272 or 689-5600, or call any one of us. We'll do whatever we can to help and assist. So we'll go over what those numbers mean as soon as Derek gives us the Escambia numbers, and then we'll delve into what work needs to be done. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that, Jill. All right. If I look at where we are for Escambia County, just to give you the breakdown, Escambia County, as of the end of last month, had 208,244 registered voters, broken down by the following: 96,822 Republicans, 62,746 Democrats, and 42,701 no party affiliated voters. As of today, the official voter turnout of the 208,244 that were total voters, we have active that are eligible voters of 198,336. Of that number, 27,832 voters have casted a ballot, giving us a 14% voter turnout. We saw a little bit over 50% of that being vote by mail, and the rest of that is been early voting at the various 10 locations this week. Escambia County has approximately 85 locations that will be available to those of you all who want to vote on Election Day, which is Tuesday, August the 20th. Our polls are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., just as everybody is indicated in the prior counties. We want to make sure that everybody knows that Florida law requires voters to cast their ballot in their home precinct on Election Day, meaning that means that you need to be at your precinct. None of the 10 early voting options that were available in Escambia County will be open for you to go vote. So make sure that you know where your precinct is located. If you have questions on where that is, you can, for Escambia County, you can go to escambiavotes.gov/precinct-finder, or you can call the Supervisor of Elections office at 850-595-3900. Just a couple of location changes, and polls are for 3 precincts here in Escambia County. If your voting precinct is precinct 42, you used to vote at the Legacy House on Summit Boulevard. You now vote at Hillcrest Church the Spanish Trail campus at 3960 Spanish Trail Road. If you are in precincts 49 and 106, your precinct, your old polling location was Grace Lutheran Church at 6601 North 9th Avenue. You're now going to Career Source Escarosa, which is located at 6913 North 9th Avenue. Again, you're switching from Grace Lutheran to Career Source Escarosa, which is at 6913 North 9th Avenue. Polls are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. As everybody indicated, vote by mail ballots need to be into the supervisor of elections by 7 p.m. on election day, which is August the 20th. And if you are local, you can return them to the supervisor of elections office at 213 Palafox Place, the second floor here in Pensacola. They cannot, I want to reiterate because we had some confusion, vote by mail ballots cannot be returned at the polling locations. You have to turn them into the supervisor of elections office. If you have voted by mail and you want to check the status of your ballot, you can go to escambiavotes.gov/track-my-ballot. If it says accepted, that means your ballot has been received and will be counted. So as we look at it, again, we're talking about 14% voter turnout in terms of our voters eligible ballots cast in Escambia County. Now, if you look at what we've talked about for Escambia, Santa Rosa, and Okaloosa, you've had 14% in Escambia. Santa Rosa was 14, roughly thereabout.
13.09.
13. And Okaloosa was what?
12.98, not quite 13.
That, from a voter turnout, is what we would call abysmal at this point in time. So that means everybody needs to get off of their behinds, and we should see a large number of voters come in and vote on Tuesday the 20th. It is going to be paramount that you cast your ballots in this election cycle in the primary. I know we've been talking a lot about the excitement around the now that Kamala Harris is the Democratic nominee, but we still have primary elections to go through. And we know that most elections are local, and those that impact you locally are often decided in the primary. So what are your thoughts on what this means, Jill? What do you think? What can we do?
I thought for sure you were going to share with us Escambia's ballot, but we'll let you do that later.
Yeah, I am.
What do I think that means? I think that what I'm going to hope it means is all of those people who say, I just want to go to the ballot, I want to go on election day and I want to go and vote, that I hope that that is what part of this is. I also hope that it's not that all of our excitement is in VP Kamala Harris and not locally, because although it is phenomenal, it is a wonderful future for us, it does not change your local politics. Your local politics will stay the same. They will be based on whatever you do August 20th, period. Doesn't matter who's in the White House. Your local politics is usually, and if you look at it honestly, how you survive because you live here. So in Escambia, Santa Rosa, Okaloosa County, and any other county that's listening, that's where your livelihood is made. That's who's on your school board. That's who your commissioners are. That's who your sheriff is. That's how the rules and regulations of your life, your family's life, your kids' life, everybody, it's local. So I almost want to do a plea, but I don't want to have to plead because I'm hoping that because we've been talking year round about how important voting is, this is a practice. We're going to know how much work we need to do. If we couldn't get you out on what hopefully will be a sunny Tuesday, but I don't care whether it's sunny or it's raining or whatever. They gave us a week. Santa Rosa was a little bit more blessed because they got over 10 days. But for the rest of us across the state of Florida, we all got at least 1 week to go cast your ballot. That meant you could go on the weekend if you worked during Monday through Friday. That meant if you work on the weekend, you could go Monday through Friday. And they tried to make it in most places that polls were open 10 to 6 or 10 to 7 to try to accommodate all 3 shifts. I'm not going to be concerned, but I should be concerned. And the reason I say that is because the numbers are just like, this would have been easy for this election cycle. This is easy. It's an easy go to the ballot, practice what you're going to do in November, get familiar with what you have to do, what documents you need so that you can actually vote. All of that was what this is. This is your practice round for the general, but your lifeline for the local.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I would say, what Jill has alluded to, for those of you all who live in Escambia County, I'm going to say that if you are a registered Democrat, right, this should be a very simple thing for all of us to do. And I say that because there are only, at most, irrespective of where you live in Escambia County, you might have at max 2 things to vote for on your ballot. 2, maybe 3, but I don't know of any place where there are 3, any county or any combination of city and county where you have 3. I think it's just 2. So yeah, just 2. So I would say it should be an easy thing. Takes 5 minutes. Just show up. Let's get out the vote. Like Jill said, I hear all the time, I like to go on election day. I like to go on election day. And as much as we tell you all that your plan A should be vote by mail, your plan B should be early voting, and plan C should be election day, I am trusting and believing that all 85% of our registered voters in Escambia County will be going to the polls on election day, on the primary election day, which is August the 20th, because we actually need to show up. Like Jill says, this is what gives us our indicator of how the general election is going to go. And if this is an indicator of how the general election is going, God bless. We, like I think Jill has said it, and I'm going to echo it. Get your passport ready, because we are in trouble. If I look at in Escambia County, just alone, the Republicans have gotten about a 19% voter turnout thus far between early voting and vote by mail, versus Democrats at about 13.5%. So although it's a small margin, it's still a margin, right? So if we're looking at this, you apply that across the rest of the state of Florida, we've got some work to do. So I'm imploring, Jill didn't want to plead, but I'm pleading. I'm not even pleading, I'm begging at this point in time. Please make sure that you carve out however much time you need on August the 20th between 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. to go stand at your precinct and go and vote. If you don't know where your precincts are, call me. I can tell you where your precincts are, whether you're in Escambia, Santa Rosa, or Okaloosa. You can call Jill. Jill can tell you where your precinct is, whether you're in Escambia, Santa Rosa, or Okaloosa. Call the Democratic Party headquarters in each one of those counties. They can tell you where your precinct is and where you have to go. And more importantly, if you are a person that needs a ride to the polls, please, please, please contact your Democratic Party office in Escambia, Santa Rosa, and Okaloosa County. They can arrange for a person to get you to the polls. Now, I'm going to say this because our poll drivers have reiterated it, and they continue to tell me the same thing. And I will tell you, they can take you to and from the polls at no cost to you. please don't ask these poll drivers to run you by McDonald's, to run you by Walmart or Target or Winn-Dixie or Aldi's, because it all, like I promise you, it happens every year. That is the number one complaint. People ask them to make other stops that have nothing to do with the polls. So we can get you to and from the polls. That doesn't mean anything that's in the path of the poll and beyond, just to and from the polls. But we want to make sure that we get you there. If you can, if you have questions and you need a ride to the polls in Escambia County, please call 850-407-7997. That's for Escambia County. If you are in Okaloosa, do you know what your office number is in Okaloosa, or what number they can give Jill?
Give me well, you can always call me, but I'm going to give you Davey's number because that's probably the best.
Yeah.
Hold on a second, because I should know it. And then Santa Rosa, do you have Sandy's? I'm assuming. Santa Rosa.
I'll give Sandy's number. Yeah.
Hold on. Okay. In Okaloosa, you can call. I just called them by accident. That's not what I wanted to do. I apologize. 850-499-1247. That number is 850-499-1247. And that is to Davy Jones, our DEC chair, and he will make sure that he gets the information, and one of us will make sure that you get picked up and taken to your correct poll. And we will, as Derek said, wait for you to vote, and then take you back to your designated location without extra stops.
Yeah. So if you are in Santa Rosa County, you can reach out to Sandy Smith, who is the chair of the Santa Rosa Democratic Party, and she can get you connected. Her telephone number is area code 614-354-8203. Again, that is 654-354-8203. Please make sure you reach out to one of us. And again, in Escambia County, I think I said it, but if not, that number is 850-407-7997. Again, that's 850-407-7997. And one of us would be able to get you to the right place and get you a ride. Bill, what do you have?
Oh, absolutely nothing.
Sorry.
I was really hoping that this would be a precursor to the national election order, presidential, but yeah, those numbers are, and then statewide, they're only like 15% of early voting. So yeah. we got some work to do.
Yeah, we can't continue to talk about the problems that plague our respective counties, but not show up when we have an opportunity to do something about them.
Absolutely.
We have people who are counting on us. Do it for your children, do it for your grandchildren, your nieces, your nephews, your fathers, your mothers, your brothers, Jill.
To say, do it for me, but that's not what I was going to say. I was going to say, all of you wonderful hosts and those that have been watching, this is why I said it's hard to have a blue wave or a blue tsunami. We have not even a trickle. We're not even skipping rocks right now across the water. It takes so much more. So you can have all the energy and all the volunteers and all of this, but if we're not actually voting, and we're the base, so like your primary election is for the base. It's the base. It's whether you're Democrat, Republican, MPA, it doesn't matter. The base is what goes out during that time. And if our base across the board is at 13, 14, and 12%, we're in trouble. We're just in trouble. And Vernon laughed, but I'm just saying, that's not a drip even. I don't even know what that is. It just needs to be so much more. So I'm not being negative when I say I like to deal in reality, but this is not the reality that I choose. It's not the reality that we're going to choose. And we're not going to allow you to sit at home and be comfortable and then call the show next week and complain because so-and-so won or so-and-so didn't win, or you still have this issue or that issue or that issue if you didn't go vote. So go vote. Like he said, in Escambia, it's so simple, but you still have to go. So it's not whether you have 10 people on the ballot or you have 2 or 1, it's did you take the time? Did you carve out a plan for Tuesday now? Because you've erased all the other ones. So let's go. What do you say? Plan C, people. Let's go. Let's go. That's what we are. Everybody who hasn't voted yet, you are now on plan C. It is the only plan. Like make it X, make it Z, whatever you need to make it. It is your last plan. So carve out your time, figure out, take your kids with you if you have to. They are allowed to go to the polls with you. You need to keep them contained, but they are allowed to go with you. So don't use, oh, I've got the baby at home, or oh, my young one has this. They have homework. Bring them with you. Let them experience. I did it since Jenna was young. She always came and voted with me. And now she is grown for the first time ever this year. She will be voting on her own without her mother, which is fabulous. But it is because she had that learning experience. Let them learn with you that local elections matter and voting matters, and that they can do their part by just going to the polls and casting their vote.
And let's be clear, the panel here has voted. We practice what we preach.
Yes, definitely. I went Saturday morning, first day of early voting at about 10:30, and there was a line, and our SOE was there. Paul Lux was right there. And it was good to see a different group of people. I had a great conversation with the person at the door. It was very friendly, very inviting. And we live in a Republican world, but you know what? What we realize is that it takes all of us, and we have to work together. Like this answer here locally and nationally is working together, is finding a way to take party aside and say what is best for all of us, not some of us, not a few of us, but all of us.
All of us.
Yeah. And we have, like to your point, we have work to do. It can be done, to Jill's point. I think even if you have your kids, to her point, take them with you. It's good to allow them to see you engage in the process of voting. It gets them as they start seeing you, they know to come to expect it. And then when they become older, they actually cast their votes. This is something we train them early to start voting. We can get people engaged and continue to have them engaged. As we know, we have, like I said, there's some work to do. We have some in this primary election. I think that our voices and thank you to Mr. Vernon and Jerry, our fearless leaders who have done a great job of getting the candidates that you have available to you so that you can see who's on your ballot and you know who to vote for. We've done a lot of our local elections here in Escambia County. Those who have traversed at the state level, whether you're Haley or Lisa Newell for the state Senate race, or Gabe Alamont. We've done our best to make sure that you get exposed to those people so that you know who's on your ballot and who you'll be voting for. Now, as we know, and I'm going back to this point, across the state of Florida, there is one race that everybody is going to be contending for, and that is the United States Senate. We all know who Rick Scott is, right? We know how horrible of a senator he is for the state of Florida and how he impacts the United States in terms of where he stands. He introduced, if we have forgotten, he's introduced his plan to eliminate Social Security. So those of you all who are seniors and look for your Social Security check, this man wants to eliminate that process and that vote for you. Now, we have some Democratic contenders who are looking to unseat Rick Scott. And of those Democratic contenders, there are 4. We have brought you 3 of the 4. You've had an opportunity to see in order, Stanley Campbell, who was the first of the Democratic senatorial candidates that you saw. Then we had Dr. Rod Joseph, and we had Debbie McCarcel Powell. Brian Rush, who was also a contender, he was not able to join us, right? So you have four options, right? And you know, if I'm just being real, right? We want to make sure we put someone who has the skill set and the know-how, and at least the financial wherewithal to go up against Rick Scott, because we know that he funds his own campaign. And that man has millions of dollars. So you need someone who has a little bit of a war chest to be able to do that. But more importantly, once they get to the Senate, can actually execute policy and vote on policy correctly that benefit those of us in Florida, as well as the nation at whole. And for me, in that, I'll be the first to say I was a Stanley person, but I had the opportunity to get to hear Debbie McCarcel Powell, and listening to her. If you've heard from her, in my opinion, she is the choice that everybody should be going with. She is best to she's poised to unseat Rick Scott and can vote in all of our best interests. I would wholeheartedly, you vote how you choose. But if I'm taking all of my hats off and I'm just Derek Scott, the voter, who has the best opportunity to unseat Rick Scott? And in my opinion, I think that is Debbie McCarcel Powell. I know we have only had 12% of our Democrats vote. So the rest of you, 88, come out, make sure, let's make a choice. Jill, what do you have? What are your thoughts?
So I'm gonna take all my hats off, but before I say anything, I'm gonna take all my hats out to say this. So I'm thankful to Jerry and Vernon for giving us the opportunity, because there's not a lot of spaces, if you're not deeply involved with the Democratic Party, where you would be able to see any of these candidates. And the fact that we're able to bring it to Santa Rosa, Okaloosa, Escambia County, Walton County, and others to showcase that there are candidates out there, period, regardless of which one you like. A lot of times, again, if we understand it because we're a little deeper rooted into the party based on our titles and volunteerism. But for the everyday person, this is a wonderful, amazing opportunity because they were right here and you didn't have to leave your home. You didn't have to go out to an event. You just had to watch our voices on a Sunday evening and or go back and go on to Vernon's different channels and Roku and all of that, or go back and rewatch it. I believe he reruns the show. So for that, I'm very thankful. I would also say this, it's hard at times, and I said this last week without saying anybody's names because I think this is critical. We're not voting. I'm not voting. And I don't believe people should vote based on your ethnic background, on your whether you're a female or a male. I think it's supposed to be on content, what you bring to the table. And in this race, with 45 sitting out there, who can win? And what do you bring to the ticket? And so it's hard sometimes because often you want to vote for, I'm a female, so I'm going to say there's a lot of times I want to vote for a female. And I'm Black, so I want to vote for somebody Black. And if I was LGBTQ plus, I might want to vote for somebody who is LGBTQ plus or a veteran, or I could just keep going on, or an astronaut, or, whatever it is that you liken to. However, in this case, I would say I'm voting for, and I'm going to go to the national first, Kamala Harris, VP Kamala Harris, not because she's Black and not because she's a woman. Again, like I said last week, That's God gave her that. It's because she can actually do the job. She's raising the money. She has the intellect, the understanding, the work ethic, the work experience to do the job. And unless your candidate can check every box like that, then I don't think that we should just be voting because you look like me or you act like me or you love the type of people that I love, because it's so much bigger than that. And so, and I love you, Vernon. I do. I love you, Vernon. And I like Stanley. I do. I really like him. I
Yeah.
do. I really like him. And I know that he gave money to support the TV station. And I know he came here and gave signs out, and he was the first one to come here, but also he's from Pensacola. I would have to ask the question just from history, because we don't have a lot of people that come here with that same, I gotta come here, have been there. I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. So that's not my question. But I'm just telling you, I love you, Vernon. But if I take all of my hats off, I was at a meeting. I knew Debbie Mucarsel Powell, but not really. When I first met her, it was at Judy Mount's Boots and Blues, and she came in with her husband and a media team. And I'm checking people in Mariana, so I don't know anybody anyway. And she comes in, and I'm kind of like, I know you're important because you got a media team with you, but who are you? Christina, who knows everybody, is like, oh, and I'm like, oh, I don't know who she is. So I have to ask her, who are you? Because I don't know you, because I'm real. I don't know you. I'm not gonna make it up. I don't know you. So, she talked then, and I was like, yeah, we'll see if you come back. But when she actually came and the information that she gave, it was so thorough. If you asked a question on how can you stop opioids, she answered it. If you asked a question on the raising of rent and insurance, she answered it. If you asked a question on veterans, she answered it. That's one side of it. The other side, she raised millions of dollars, over $10 million.
11.1.
Trying to tell you $11 million against Rick Scott, who has millions of millions. And although Stanley has done a great job, he's still short of $1 million. How do you go into this race with short of $1 million? I don't know. And then my last thing would be, I know AI is at the top of everybody's everything, and I think that's fabulous. But I'm just one of those that would say, if Stanley has that AI and he wins, I hope he uses it, but also brings her onto his team. And if Debbie wins, then I hope he gives her the AI to help move forward. But my personal question to him, and I hope he's watching, would be, where was the darn AI these last 4 years that we have been struggling? Why couldn't you help us right then and there? If you have this great process, procedure, information, why not share it? So I don't really care. I do care who wins, but whoever wins, what I'm hoping is that they will join forces together and move forward together. It doesn't do any good if you are one of the candidates, because remember, there's 4. So only one person can win. It's not like you can have a tie or the top 2. It's only one person. So whoever that one person is, the other 3, I'll give them a little bit longer than I'll give the rest of us. They can have a week. But after that week, you need to take all of your backing, anybody who voted for you, anybody who supported you, and immediately switch it to the other person. So if Vernon is correct and Stanley's the person, everybody who voted for Debbie or Rod or Brian needs to get on board. If Debbie's the person, anybody that voted for Rod or Stanley or Brian, get on board. If Rod is the person, then everybody that voted for Debbie and Stanley and Brian, get on board. And if Brian is the person, we're all going to be shocked, only because he won't come to anybody's anything and we haven't heard from him. But if he is, guess what? Suck it up. Take your 24 hours for us, not the candidates. They get a week. But for us, the actual voter, you get 24 hours. I am a firm believer that 24 hours is all you need to be able to say, I don't want 45 to win. 24 hours, and you just say, you know, I don't know how that happened, or okay, it was a fair fight, or whatever you want to say. It really doesn't matter. 24 hours. So that means August 22nd, I expect every Democrat, like-minded Republican and MPA, to say we are all in behind said person, whoever it is, period.
Go ahead, Mr. Brennan. What you got?
Okay. Well, thank you for that information. And I want to say this from the outset. I don't care who wins, and I don't care what color they are. I'm going to support the Democratic Party. Okay. And if Kamala didn't offer nothing but a black skin, I'm still voting for it just because she was black. Okay, I'm telling you that right now. I think we need a woman president. Okay, men had 46 chances at this. Some of them did good, some of them didn't. I think that a woman would change the whole trajectory of this country, and I think that we need that input. Okay, so I'm voting for her because she's a woman. I'm voting for her because she's black. I'll be honest with you. Now, as far as Debbie, I don't have anything against Debbie. The problem I have is that Debbie, I'm like probably most other folks. Debbie got a great message, but it's not heard. You know, I met Debbie when we had that luncheon. How we had 10 or 15 people down there to hear her message. She was great, had a great message. But Stanley reached out to the community and said, I want Pensacola to know who I am. I want to be on your TV station 6 or 8 times a day. I want to be on your radio station 6 or 8 times a day. I want them to hear my message. I interviewed with him. He spent about 15 minutes yesterday on the radio talking about his platform. So people know what he stands for, okay? But they don't know what Debbie stands for. You know, for folks that can't get to these Democratic meetings like sometime me and you can get to, it just don't get filtered out to the community, and I don't think they reach out to community. I think that they are, and this holds true basically for the Democratic Party. They think they take the black vote for granted, okay? And I do know for a fact I have gone into the ballot box many a times, and probably and no exception when I'm gonna go Tuesday. A lot of names I'm not gonna recognize, okay? And the names that I do recognize, okay, probably the names that I'm gonna check, okay? Good or bad or indifferent, I don't know, you know. When I check that ballot box and I never heard of Debbie's name before, I'm not going to check that name. If I heard Stanley's names, I said, okay, I heard him on the radio. I heard him, you know, I probably check his name. Not necessarily his credential, but at least I check his name because I heard that name from somewhere. And so it must be okay because he came to our media and he was asking for our vote. When you don't come to our community and ask for our vote, you know, that's something you have to really think about. But I wish them both well, but my station endorses Stanley Campbell. I'm voting for Stanley Campbell, and I hope everybody else will vote for Stanley Campbell. If Stanley loses, I'm going to be a Debbie supporter, okay? And whoever, well, even if it was, what's the other guy name? I never heard the other guy. What's the third contender?
I guess you're talking about Brian Russ.
Yeah, if Brian Russ wins, okay, I'm going to be his supporter. I'm going to support the Democratic ticket, okay, regardless. And no way in hell I could support Rick Scott, okay. But anyway, that's my spiel on that.
I hear what you're saying, Bernard. This is where I hate, you know, and trying to say this in the best. Well, no, I'll just say it.
Just say it.
You know, I hate that certain people co-opt people's ability to get to the community, right? And I say this to say that Debbie would have made the same, I think, plea or time to the community, but her her path to the community was railroaded and hijacked. We had two folks, a gang that continued to step in, and they put them in spaces where it's not a community focus. I had the chance when Debbie came to Pensacola. I know you referenced the launch that she had. She also had an event here in the community in Pensacola that we had nothing to do with, right? And Bill got a chance to go. And if you looked at that room did not look like Escambia County. It looked like a whole bunch of people who don't look like you or I, who are not the majority of Democrats here in Escambia County. And that it was done like that by design. We counted 7 people of color in that room, and 6 of them were invitations through me. Everybody else didn't look like us, and it's unfortunate that we find ourselves in these situations that when we have candidates that have a great message that could be reached into the community, it gets hijacked, and told pure point blank. And I'm just being real. It was told, don't deal with Derek or don't deal with the community because he can't get the community out. Okay, well, if you've been to any one of our other candidate events, you know that we easily get 200 plus people in the middle of the day. But all right, I got you. I can't get the community people out. But what it is I can't, if I'm being 100% candid, they prefer for non-people of color to go out and listen to these candidates. But they aren't the majority of Democrats in Escambia County. So it's unfortunate that it happened. We talked about, like, the prime example, we were sitting on this show when we heard Bill say, oh, we're having a veterans roundtable for Debbie. And I'm like, what? Who put that together? Where did that even come from? It's just things like that, although it was a great thing, I'm not, Bill, I'm not saying anything with respect to the roundtable. I'm just saying that the people who need to know don't get to know. It's select, and who gets the invitation is unfortunate. And they, unfortunately, don't know any better. The candidates don't know any. And so they look like, and they're like, well, they take notice of it afterwards because they make comments about it. But what can you do? I just hate that in this situation. Jill, I know your hand was up. I saw your hand go up earlier. I don't know what you were about to say.
I'll let Vernon go first because I think he's responding to what you just said, and then I'll.
I think, Derek, what you're saying is well, just say it. There's racism everywhere you go, okay? And I told folks a lot about Kamala opportunities of being president. I said we get just as many racist, probably a lot of racist Democrats that we have racist Republicans, okay? And so we know that is a factor, and a lot of them just not going to vote for her just because she's black, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I think that every candidate is incumbent on themselves to try to get the message out to the community, regardless of what they're hearing on the other side. Because if you don't reach out, you're never going to get there. And just like you said, that woman got $11 million. Okay, money wasn't an issue. Okay, she could have reached out to the minority community. Have they had a little bit more proactive about it? I don't know. I just sometimes think they just assume and just take our votes for granted. You're going to vote. Why should I spend money there? Because they're going to vote for us anyway. I know Vernon Watson. He's a diehard Democrat. He's going to vote Democrat regardless of what. And I am. So, and I think that, but I don't know what the message is. I have no idea what Debbie's message is. Okay.
Yeah.
I got a better handle on what Stanley's message is, but I have no comparison. I can't compare his message to her message because I never heard her message. And so, and I think when somebody make a conscious effort to reach out, okay, to me, and that's what Stanley did. He reached out. I sent information to everybody, but Stanley the only one that came back and actually reached out and said, "Look, I want the votes in Pensacola, black, white, all of them." Okay, he said, "But I want those votes in Pensacola, and I want my message to get out to these folks in Pensacola. Not only black folks watch WBQP, not only black people listen to WRNE radio, people across the board. Majority of us may have, but there's other people that listen in as well. We got a pretty significant Hispanic community here in Pensacola. Okay, that community I do know watches my station, and so. And some of them listen to the radio. We had a Hispanic show on at one time. So, but anyway, all I'm saying is, we got a community that is just being taken for granted and just ignored because they're assuming. And I'm talking about the Democratic Party. Okay, Democratic Party just taking the powers to be. Not you guys. When you took over, I think y'all tried to make an effort to do what you need to do, but I'm talking about the Democratic Party in general. When Val Demings ran for they spent no money in Northwest Florida. Okay, very little money that I can see in Northwest Florida trying to get the vote on this end or trying to reach the folks that are color on this end. So I think the party in general has some issues that needs to be dealt with internally, so that they don't really stop and just take us for granted.
Yeah. Before we move to Jill, I want to take the time to recognize Cheryl because she is joining us. Hey, Cheryl, how are you today?
I'm well. As you know, it's a busy time. We're getting geared up. Things are exciting. We had a really great team meeting. And for those of you who don't know, I am campaign manager for Haley Morissette. So we are, as I said, geared up and ready to hit the ground running on Wednesday morning.
There you go. All right, now let's go.
We have some really, really exciting things. I can't wait.
Y'all are running like hell, huh?
We are running like hell, and we are doing politics not as usual. So we are, thinking a little bit outside the box, and in the traditional sense of running for office, but with a twist, because we understand that times are changing, demographics are changing, the panhandle is changing, and what it like. It's more diverse. It's younger people, and they have a voice, and they want to be heard, and we're connecting with them, and that's something that people haven't been able to do. So I'm excited for what's to come.
Good job, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Did you have something?
I did, but I just want to say, Cheryl, that smile and the energy is just like flowing through you. You're glowing. So I'm excited for you, for the team, for Hale. I can't wait for you guys to win, to beat those numbers that nobody thinks that anybody else can beat, and just show Pensacola and the surrounding areas, and like I shouldn't say just Pensacola, Escambia, Santa Rosa, and give us hope in Okaloosa and Walton and everywhere else that it can be done, that you can.
It can and it will. And Jill, I know you always say you're not gonna, I want to see it on election day. I want to look at those numbers and see, but we just came from Pensacola Beach, and Hale is one of the only candidates that I've seen that has been able to cross the aisle, like literally cross the aisle. Like she has at one of the Santa Rosa events, a gentleman with Trump's Bikers for Trump. jacket. Like he wanted to meet Hale after he heard her speak. So it's looking very, very hopeful. We have a lot of people who have they're not going all the way down in the Republican ballot.
Sharon, I want to tell a quick story about that, if you will.
Okay.
Remember when you had your initial kickoff?
Yes.
And I went looking for it. Okay. And I passed by this. Y'all told me where it was. Somewhere on was it 9th Avenue, right? And I looked at this group of people. Didn't look like us. And I said, well, that couldn't be it. So I went still looking for Hale's campaign. Then I ended up calling. I said, where it is? You said there. And I came back. And that's what I'm saying. Just to saying that the diversity and the folks that Haley has, it's amazing. I got good hopes for Haley because she's been able to literally reach across the aisle and get these folks excited. When I got there, if you look at it on YouTube, we got there, you got old folks, middle-aged folks, young folks, white folks, black folks, Hispanic folks, a whole bunch of folks showed up for her thing. So I'm proud of my girl. And yeah, I'm for her too, y'all.
Okay, yes, vote for Haley Morissette.
Vernon, what I will say to that is we all agree with that vote.
We absolutely agree with
Behind
that.
110% on that vote.
Gets no pushback on that.
I guess I have to go back. Cheryl, you jumped in, and I never want to take away from Hale. So again, hats off, super excited. I just can't wait. I've always admired her, and it was just because of her spirit and who she was. Like I'm not from Pensacola, so I don't know all of the stuff that you guys know about her, but I've seen her for years, and her spirit and her acceptance of everybody, no matter what. She's never been one of those that's just been too busy or too involved to not sit back and listen or hear or try to help. And so for that, I just really want to say thank you. But Vernon, I have to go back to your conversation. But I think I have to go back because I think we need some clarity, because I think there's some confusion. So the first thing is, again, I will remind you that Stanley is from Pensacola. What he did for Pensacola, I'm saying he's been there. His brother, I'm saying his family. He's from Miami, but he frequented Pensacola through the military, through his brother, all of that. So he's familiar with the Panhandle, and not just Pensacola, Santa Rosa and Okaloosa, because of the military, because of where he did his flight path and all of that. So he's been here, but you know where he hasn't been? Mariana, that's right down the road. Panama City, Bay County. I can keep going and tell you places, and it's not that. So here's really what I want to say is, as far as Debbie goes, Derek's absolutely right. She was guided and directed by the same person you guys were talking about last week. And that guidance and direction to one of our candidates this year, but last year, said, don't worry about the Black people. They're not going to help you win. This is out of her mouth. So if you thought that Debbie was ever going to know anything about you before we got in the picture, she wasn't. I will also share that in Okaloosa County, she did have a roundtable because I set it up, but they asked for it. They asked for a roundtable with some of absolutely everybody. So we had Black people, we had white people, we had Hispanic people. We even had the mayor of Crestview there, who's absolutely a phenomenal person, supports us, but he's a Republican. And he even gave her some heat because he came to the meeting, she wanted to know what Crestview needed. We did the meeting in Crestview. She wanted to know what the people of Okaloosa County that lived in Crestview, what did they need? What was their number one issue? And as we're sitting there, the mayor says, I'm not here. Or I didn't think I was coming to do this political thing. I thought you wanted to know about what's going on in Crestview and how you can help us. And as Debbie and him are going back and forth, she finally says, well, who invited you? And I had to raise my hand and say, I did. But the mayor, how can you talk about what's going on in a place without the mayor having a seat at the table? And then she continued that by the end of the meeting, she says, we're not leaving until the mayor says, I'll think about voting for you. And when he left, not that he said he was going to vote for her, so I don't want anybody watching this show to say that Jill said the mayor's voting for her. He's voting for the person that he chooses to vote for, whoever that is. But what he did say is that we need more meetings like this. I'm thankful that the candidate in Debbie, the person in Debbie, took the time to come and put Democrats, Republicans, and MPAs all at the same table and talk about the issues. That's how we're going to win in 2024 and beyond. That's critical. And yes, Vernon, you know that I have done everything I can to help them get to you. And we all have. And we're going to help all of the candidates get to you because we believe in you and our voices here and our community. But I would not forget that we're in the Panhandle. And so you can't look at what happens in the Panhandle and like cross out a whole candidate, because if we were in Orlando or Tallahassee or even Duval or Miami or any of those places, they're getting bombarded with all the candidates. They just really are. It is significant, don't get me wrong, because we're up here and I've been fighting for I'm not as old as everybody, but 10 years solidly for people to come here. And they didn't come until Andrew came. And Andrew didn't do and I love Val, I love her. But it wasn't a pay a whole bunch of money or come to this after you got a whole bunch of money. Andrew came and he went to the church, he went to the barbecue, he went to the beach, he went everywhere. You know why? Because that's someone who truly wanted everybody's vote, not just the Black vote. Vernon, he went everywhere. And so, yes, I think it's great. You know, I think we all vote for who we vote for, but I would say everybody's going to need to look at all the votes, whoever wins. It is going to take all the votes. It's going to take more than $11 million. It's going to take more than $80,000. It's going to take more than the 14, 13, and 12% of people that have voted. It's going to take everything that we have. So whether you vote for Debbie Mucarsel-Powell, whether you vote for Stanley Campbell, Rod Joseph, or Brian, what's his last name?
Rush.
Thank you, sir. Or Brian Russ. We just want you to go vote. On Tuesday, get into the ballot box. And in Escambia, this is easy because it might be the only thing on your ballot. You just got to pick one of those names. Pick the name, check the box, do your part. In the rest of the area, in Santa Rosa and Okaloosa, it's one of the few, if not only.
You froze. You froze,
Okay,
Jill.
I wasn't sure if it was just me. She may have
You
gotten
froze,
that.
Jill.
Yeah. I think she's still, her
Wi-Fi
internet
probably,
may have gone.
Somebody probably didn't turn
cut
on
out.
Netflix. Taking the bandwidth. Yeah, got to stay close to that Wi-Fi.
Yeah, we'll come. I don't know what she was going to say, but I will continue to say these are the things, you know, when we have these conversations. I think it's good. I completely get your point of view, Vernon, and what you're saying. You know, but I think it is paramount to hear. Like, I hope everybody heard what Jill said. The same person who said, you know, we're talking about the same person who said, "Look, Black folks aren't going to vote for you in the Panhandle anyway, so don't get there." And I am constantly met with, "Oh, you don't need to deal with Derek. Deal with me." And dealing with me means that you forego a whole bunch of people who look like all of us on this platform, you know, unfortunately. And so this is where my daily struggle began. As we see it, you know, I think some of you are now just starting to see what we go through. This is an ongoing conversation and issue. Cheryl, what do you have?
Okay, I was just going to say, we need to keep in mind that politics is a numbers game. Yeah. So if we want to change the landscape, then we need everybody out to vote. That would change and bring a lot more attention, resources, and dollars to Escambia County if we showed up in record numbers, because they're going to want to know, what are they doing over there? What's going on? New registered voters went up 18%. What are they doing? Because everybody else wants to be, they're going to want to jump on the bandwagon to see, like, how can we get in? Like, if we're out there with get out to vote rallies, we're out there registering people at record numbers, and we get record numbers of people actually voting on election day, we'll get more the attention, and the funds will start to come through local media, because that's what we need to use to make it happen. But we need to, like, really, really work together, and just putting it out there. We just the Haley Morissette campaign just obtained 3 vans, so we'll be transporting people, to early voting, to get out the vote, starting October 26th. So we're on it.
Yeah. And I will say, I hope, like I will continue to say again, this primary can't be an indicator of what our general election numbers look like, because if it is, God bless us, we're not looking good. That means all the work that Haley's campaign is doing, all the work that Lisa Newell's campaign is doing, all the work that Gabe Ballamont is doing will all be for naught, because we don't get up and actually do our part, which is going to the ballot box and voting. Cheryl, I was at the top of the show, you missed, we were going over our unofficial voter turnout this far, and we're all about sitting in between 12 and 14% of our total registered voters across the counties. Each county is 12 to 14% of their voters actually turned out this far. So hoping there's going to be a mass turnout of people on August the 20th, because it has to. Otherwise, we're way off in terms of our numbers. So go ahead.
I was just going to say, while we were out at the beach, we stopped in a restaurant out there on the beach, and we had the Run Like Hell gear on. So people are asking about it. We're more than happy to explain, what that means. And the bartender says, "Oh, I don't vote." So it's like, well, she said, "I don't get involved in politics." And I said, not for nothing, but you do understand, whether you vote or not, you are affected by local politics. Like it's affecting you. It's affecting you and how, your day to day. So that might be something you want to be more involved with, because otherwise you really don't have a legitimate say so in what goes on locally. Because I get in a lot of conversations with people who have so much to say about politics, and I'm like, oh, okay, so you voted last time? Are you about to vote on Tuesday? Oh, I don't get involved in that. Well, then you really need to be quiet and have several seats, because you don't get to say anything if you're not going to be a part of the process. And whether you choose to or not, it's still going on around you. It's still going to affect you. You are more likely to see a judge than you will ever see the president. So vote in your local elections. Find out who these people are that are representing you, who are going to be hearing your cases, who are going to be representing you in Tallahassee or in city council or the ECUA. Like, you really need to go out there and vote, or shut up.
You got your verbiage wrong. For a whiner or a complainer who is whining and complaining and then responds that they don't vote, you got your verbiage wrong. You're telling them they need to be quiet. You need to tell them to shut the hell up.
I do, but see, I don't exactly say that, and I don't believe I can say what I really want to say on this
Shut the hell up. You don't vote?
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Quit
whining. Shut up.
and I have to say this because I often am, I often find myself in rooms where I'm defending our Black elected officials. And let me just say to people, I was in Santa Rosa and someone was telling me what Lumen wouldn't do for him. And I was like, but you live in Santa Rosa, right? He's like, yeah, and he wouldn't even give. I said, but you're not in his district. No. I said, well, who's your county commissioner? And why don't you give them that same energy that you're giving somebody who's not even representing you? It makes I just don't understand. And I get it that we don't have equal representation in government. I understand that. But the same type of energy that you have for these elected officials, they can't save the world. They are 1 out of 6, 1 out of 8. So their one vote isn't really going far. We can put ourselves in other seats so we have more of a vote, more votes to what we want and what we need, more representation of us. But to attack the 2 or 3 elected officials that look like us is just crazy to me. And then they say, oh, well, you're part of them. I'm like, no, I don't even know these people, but I just fair is right and wrong is wrong. So attacking people who don't even represent you because you think that something is owed to you because they hold a seat and they look like it's just, that's my vent. I'm sorry.
No, that's good. That's good stuff. And the worst part about it is that he's attacking a good man that does a lot for the community, especially our youth. So that would sure enough make me tell him to shut. Yeah.
And again, I don't know the man personally, but I am in spaces where I see the benefit of what he does for the community.
He's a good
I'm in
man.
Spaces of, I see what they do locally and they try to do the best they can. And I understand they only have limited budgets. So I don't know what to expect, of our elected officials. And they're not there to just provide community services. That is not their job description. They have other things that they need to see about as it pertains to their constituent base. So I think we need to, if you're in a District 5, go holler at whoever's in that district with the same amount of energy that you come after our elected officials in District 3.
Right.
All right. So I think as we transition, let's talk a little bit, as we talked about the impact of what we've gotten here. We haven't done a lot of conversation now that our wonderful soon-to-be President Kamala Harris has picked her vice presidential nomination. We haven't talked a lot about Tim Walz. Has everybody here had an opportunity to watch him, learn about him, talk about who he is? What is everybody's thoughts? What are your thoughts about Madam Vice President's pick and who he will be as a vice president?
She hit a home run with his selection. A 24-year military man. Man, that just the spirit of this guy. The way he talks and speaks and where he came from and the people where he came from that absolutely loves this guy. This guy is high energy. He's proven with a 24-year military record. I just like him, man. I do. And I think that in a debate that he will eat that other guy up, man. This guy is very impressive. Grew up on a farm, man. I mean, middle America. I like him. I'm looking forward to the convention. I really am. They're going to hit a home run. And the momentum is there before the convention, and it's Chicago is up, man. This is going to be great. Jill, you froze. Okay, you're awful stiff there.
I was listening to you.
Okay, yeah, I'm done. I wanted somebody else to share. But I'm high on walls.
Yeah. So what I would say is, at first, it wasn't who I thought she was going to pick. So I was kind of very, very surprised, like, and then almost like holding my breath, like, okay, I understand that whoever she picked, there was a reason, and that there were way too many people bigger than us that could actually understand. And now I see it. But the immediate was, what have you done? Why didn't you go to Shapiro? Why didn't you go to Kelly? What are you doing? What are you doing? What is going on? But soon, like moments later, you could understand why she made the decision she made. I think that who he is really is going to bring that missing need of the ticket. He will meet a huge portion of the missing links. He won't check all the boxes, but none of them checked all the boxes. But he'll check enough, if not way more than we even expected. I think, personally, anybody who debated 45's VP would knock that out of the park, because he's weird.
Yeah, you're right.
Weird. He's really weird.
Yeah.
So I don't think that it's even going to be an issue. But yes, I also agree with Bill that when he gets on there, it will be, have your popcorn and be ready, because
he's amazing. He's something, man.
Yeah, no different than when VP Harris gets up there with Trump. It's going to be a whole different. He's not going to be different. He will be he'll be wired, but he'll be the same in the lies, but they will be more geared towards trying to make her not be as great as God already made her. Like, I don't know why he wastes his energy to try to take away what the gift that God already gave. You want to take away something, go after something else. But the normal everyday gifts that she has, he can't take that away from her.
He really doesn't want to debate her, truth be.
Oh, he doesn't.
If I was him, I wouldn't either.
I would leave you with what you saw when I was up there with Biden.
Yeah, that's my best. I promise you, if I were he, I would not, absolutely not get in the ring with that Madam Vice. I would not. I'm sorry, y'all can call, say what you want, but I didn't dignify the 16 candidates in the early runnings for the nominee. And I'm not gonna do it with her, but he's not doing it. I wouldn't do it with her for a whole different reason. It'll show the world.
Well, what do you think, Mr. Vernon?
I was pleasantly surprised. I thought she made a mistake. I really did. I was really disappointed. But then when I heard the guy speak the very first night, my whole attitude changed about him. I mean, I think he's going to be great. I think he's going to be the one that's say things that need to be said. You know what I'm saying? In terms of clapping back. And
Madam Kamala gonna do that now. Kamala ain't gonna bite it, man. I'm telling you, she's gonna say what she gotta say.
I know, but she don't go low. She don't go low like I like to go low, like Trump to go low. You know,
man.
He start calling. She don't call him weird, and she doesn't call him that kind of stuff. That he leads it on. I think people want to hear that, and I think that she kind of be trying to be a little more dignified and trying to get the Michelle Obama go high kind of thing. But sometimes you just have to go. You have to dot down. Sometimes you're going to get.
He doesn't have a choice but to do that, because the moment she, the moment she says something, and just to check him, not even being nasty, but just to check him, she's going to be labeled the angry Black woman. And everybody's going to be on her case. They'll take little memes and stuff like that from her. I don't even think she should dignify him with any type of debate. Just run the race.
He said today
and win.
He said today he's prettier than she is.
He's what?
He's prettier than she is.
He's going to wait for that opportunity and go so low, like really trying to hit something to bring out bring out that element that they're looking for. I'll just say that.
The way she put that heckler in check, man, was a taste of, look, man, I ain't playing with you. Call it angry, whatever you want, man, but that's how you do it. That's how you do it.
Yeah,
and
I was like,
I'm speaking.
I'm speaking.
That was woo.
It wasn't what she said. It was the look followed by that head tilt and that smirk afterwards. She said,
yeah.
And I was like, oh, you done said everything that, in my opinion, everybody black in these United States understood what she said at that moment. It was like, oh, okay, all right. Yeah. I felt she was like, play with it. you know, that's what I heard after that. Yeah. And it was like, oh, okay, all right, got it.
Yeah. Hey, this ain't Michelle going out. That boy, man, it's on.
Play with it. And so, but what I will say, I think like Jill and kind of Mr. Vernon, I think for me, I'm like, when she announced, I was like, oh Lord, this is Hillary Clinton all over again. You know, because it was kind of wonder. I was like, who? You know, like who is this man, right?
Yeah.
But to your point, the very next day, when he got up and hit that podium. Well, let me rephrase. When the very next day, then when Shapiro started speaking, I was like, oh Lord, don't please reiterate that he was the wrong choice. You know, like because he flowed so eloquently. Until Mr. Walls got up there. I didn't like the rest of us too. Until Walls got up there, and I was like, oh, and I like you're all right with me. And to your point, I appreciate the Mr. Vernon, the realness of it. When you tell people to mind your damn business,
yeah,
I appreciate that. Like, oh, okay, all right, we all right with that. So it oftentimes reminds me of, I guess, to kind of blend both what you and Cheryl are saying. Like if you remember the Key and Peele speech, a skit where if you're familiar with them, where he does the angry Obama interpreter, and so like he says something and then like that the other man interprets it. I feel like Walls is that for
Kamala,
Madam Vice President, like in a way, you know, like I'm like, oh, you're funny. It is real. But for those of you all who have not really officially gotten who Governor Walls is, I want to just share a couple of things with him about Governor Walls. He's a champion for America's working families, a former football coach who took his team to the state championship for the first time in school's history, and a command sergeant major in the Army National Guard who went to college on the GI Bill. He won his first race in a Republican district by representing the needs of farmers in rural America. In Congress, he took action for veterans and forged compromise to get things done. As governor, he has done more to help middle-class families get ahead than any other statewide leader in recent history. We talk about he delivers for the working families. He signed the largest tax cut in the state's history. He lowered the cost of insulin to $35 per month. He eliminated junk fees and signed paid leave into law so that parents can take care of sick family without losing their job. He was the first led Minnesota as being the first state to pass a law codifying abortion rights after the Supreme Court overturned Roe. And he has banned chokeholds to build trust in policing that helps to build trust between the officers and its communities. And I think one of the things I like about him, we talk about him being a teacher, is that he allowed for Minnesotians, however you say it, the children to all go to school and eat free lunch. And you don't have to be labeled as a person that falls below the poverty line. free lunch is open to everybody, and that's something that's great, and it shows that he cares for all children, everybody, irrespective of where you come from, what your pockets are, what your background is, so on and so forth. So I like that. I think he's a great candidate. Were you about to say something, Jim? Yeah. But again, they can only win if we do one thing.
When we vote, we
One
win.
thing is vote. That's the only thing that is required of them to do, of us to do, and that's to get out to vote. Yeah, Jill.
Can't just be the base. It's got to be everybody. Like for
Yeah.
them to win this time, because 45 spaces is base, and they're going to do what they do because that's what they do, and they're not changing. And it doesn't matter what we do. I'm talking about his base, not his maybe followers. I'm talking about his base. And our base right now is sitting at 14, 13, and 12 in our county. That will not get VP Harris and Walz elected at all. Zero. It will not happen. So again, it just shows how important it is, because there's so much energy. It's hard to imagine that there's this much energy, this much money raised. I'm talking about in our counties, in our 3 counties. And yet we're at 14, 13, and 12%. Like, I don't get it. Like, that's not going to happen if the rest of the ticket isn't where it needs to be. And if you don't do local politics, it's just not. It's going to be hard for Hale to get the votes she needs to get if we're not out doing what we need to do and voting. Doesn't matter how much they do and how hard they're working and how different their campaign looks and how much energy it's putting into our counties. Because if we don't vote and we don't get out in, I want to almost say astronomical numbers, what we did in the past is not going to make it this time. This time, the numbers need to be above 50%. They need to be close to 75% if you want a real change. And if you want to automatically, this is across the state of Florida and across the United States, you want to automatically send 45 back to, guess he's coming to Florida, but not in office, wherever he's going. That's got to be close to 75% across the board, and it's done. It's that simple. Just go vote. Bring 10 people, bring 20 people, bring 100 people, do whatever it takes. We should not be sitting now where we are, and we definitely will be critically, I don't even know what the word is, critically ready. I don't know. Then I'll make sure everybody goes and gets their passport. But whatever that word should be, that if in November, at this very same time, we are sitting at 13, 12, 14%, we are setting ourselves up to lose.
Yep.
So go ahead, practice on Tuesday. Plan C's, let's go. The time is now, because you missed all the other times that were now. So the time is really now. And show us that we don't have to start from scratch, because if these numbers don't go up significantly, the work that all of us have to do individually in our organizations, collectively together as a community on this show and every other show or opportunity that we have to reach people is going to be catastrophic. So just show us the difference. We would love to come on Sunday and be like, we were at 14, 13, and 12%, but now we're at 40%, or anything that we can take and say, okay, we're halfway there, or we're 3/4 something of the way there. I just don't want I don't want all of this work and all of this energy to be for nothing, because that would be sad. It would be a sad day for us to have to say, yeah, we had more volunteers than we've ever had. Yes, we've got the energy of Obama, but we couldn't make it happen like Obama. And I'm with Vernon. I think it's time. There was a time, and I'll share this. Probably shouldn't, but I will. There was a time where I wasn't quite sure that a woman would be able to run the United States of America. But it wasn't because she couldn't do it. My heart always tears. So I always would put them in this scenario. There is this catastrophic event going on wherever, and we need to push the button and kill children. And I was like, there's no way I'm killing children. I personally couldn't do it. I believe Kamala and anybody else that's at that level would make the decision that's best for the entire United States. But to me, we just have that heartstring more so than men. Sometimes men can just push a button like, y'all just do your thing. And you don't always, where we have all our, we pull out what about this person? What about this? What about this? What about this? What about this? The exact same way that she picked her VP. What about this? What about this? What about this? What about this? So I feel like she is one who's had the experience, and with the people around her will be phenomenal, because she's going to make sure she has the right people. She already has a great team, but that team that I know when she wins that she's going to pull together is going to be phenomenal. And not a single person is going to have to worry about, can she do the job? Will she make those promises come true? The only thing that's going to stop her, two things. We don't vote. And if you don't get the right people elected locally or at the state level so that she can get Congress and a Senate that can pass bills. Like, it doesn't matter how great she is. If they are not there in support of her, then we'll be just like Obama was in his last year. And the reason why we didn't get the Supreme Court person, because he couldn't. Not because he couldn't, because they didn't allow him to. And we can't put her in that position. And that would be our fault. That is not her fault. She's going to run the race. She's going to win the race. It will be our fault if we don't support and get the right people in it.
Mm-hmm. And we know that we're seeing, even some of our Democratic folks who are elected are losing their primaries across the United States. We saw Jamal Bowman lost his primary. Representative Cori Bush lost her primary. These are the things that are going on across the state. So we need to protect and ensure that Madam Vice President Kamala Harris at that time, President Harris, has the people in place to support her to make this country run effective. That's at the national level. We also are in the race. We know that Amendments 3 and 4 are on the ballot here in the state of Florida. Amendment 3 is recreational marijuana usage, legalizing that. All right, Mr. Vernon, you and your dance. All right, go ahead. Get it, right? And we know that Amendment 4 is women's reproductive health care and access to that. Those two things are on the ballot, and we need to get out to make sure that we vote for those things. But more specifically, we need to make sure that we don't see a repeat of what happened when we tried to have returning citizens have their rights restored. We need to ensure that we don't have a legislature here in the state of Florida that once Amendment 3 and Amendment 4 pass, that will come in and do all they can to put limitations and roadblocks upon the will of the people. That's what we saw with Amendment 4 when we did the restoring of returning citizens. Thank you. The same thing could happen with Amendments 3 and Amendments 4 this year. The only way to safeguard that is if you have legislators that will support those amendments. So that means you need Haley. That means you need Lisa in the Senate. That means you need everybody at the statewide level to do what they need to do, but it's going to take all of us to get out and go and vote. And as Jill said, 12%, 13%, 14% ain't gonna get it. And that's the only thing I can say about that. Jill, I saw your hand go up.
I don't know what I was going to say. I was listening to you so hard. Um, but what I would say is that just imagine just Florida, because that's where we live and that's kind of what we can control. Of Florida, where you can have legislation that passes that represents all of us, that isn't going against everything that we stand for. And then to your point, to the amendments for the reproductive rights, we already know that as soon as that amendment passes, because it's going to pass, that DeSantis is going to do everything in his possible will of life to counteract that, much like he did the returning citizens. He's already ready for it. They'll do everything they can to stop it. They tried to raise the numbers. They'll do whatever. I think it's going to pass without even but he will put some kind of twist on it. He'll make some new law that says, yes, you can do that, but no, because that's the way he is. Or you can do it if you pay X amount of money, or whatever the case might be. I don't know. I don't think like he does. You would think, and I guess this, I wish we could have a show. I wish Jerry was on here, but I'm going to say this to you, Vernon and Bill, because you guys have been here longer than the rest of us. I wish we could get some Republicans on, some friendly Republicans that would share. So when I say friendly, just I don't want to argue. I just want to understand how it is that a man like DeSantis, a person like Gates, that you still can stand behind him. Like I'm talking about in Florida. I don't think I want to have the conversation with somebody who is a diehard 45er, because I'm not going to change your mind and you're not going to help me understand stupid. I can't. But for those that really sit back and they say, you know what, yes, I'm going to check that box for DeSantis. I'm going to check that box for Gates. I believe in what they say. When the news comes out, they get on the news and say, oh, I'm 100% behind that. What? Even though it's detrimental to half the population of your state, if not more? When did we become a society that's all about self? And why are we that way?
That's a great thought process.
So that's not just us, but I just want to understand to see how do we bridge the gap. Like if we could get a few MPAs and Republicans that would just, share their, how can we, I can't fix what I don't understand. I can't understand what I don't understand. So how do we get to that point? Because maybe in that conversation, we can come to the table and come up with an answer that we agree with. We all want clean water. We don't want red water. We don't want blue water. We don't want purple water. We just want clean water. Okay, we agree on that. Now, how we get there might be a whole different subject, but I just wish we could somehow make that happen.
That would be nice. Really would.
Yeah, I would agree. There's some folks, maybe we can see what we have. Mr. Vernon, I know you know, never mind. That's
he is a Republican.
Young lady, I think that was a good idea. I got another young lady that's a black Republican, young lady that, her name escapes me right now because I'm old and I know it well as I know my own name. But she's in charge of Pensacola. You know who I'm talking about?
Patrice.
Patrice is a
Patrice, yeah.
Yeah, she's a Republican.
She was on. She called in one time, didn't she?
Called in a couple times, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe we can have her on and try to understand. I actually, interesting that you say that. I did a show with Charles Thornton. And
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I said, never mind.
Yeah. About those reasons, but they do. And I think from our side, I think we need to understand why, but I just never understood why anybody could support Trump. From his agenda and from his thing, I just escapes me. But okay, but maybe we can have. I think that's a good idea, so we can at least understand where they're coming from.
He doesn't still have a show on your. I thought he doesn't do a show on.
Yeah, Charles.
WBQP?
Yeah, Charles does a show. Yeah, he
Oh,
has a
okay.
show, and they do a good job of promoting their Republicans, candidates and Republican agendas. Okay,
Mhm.
and so Democrats should counteract it and do the same thing. But for Charles, every week he have a show, and every week he had one on. We had one with Matt Gaetz. He had a show the other day with Matt Gaetz on there, and I saw him standing behind Rick Scott on the TV the other day. So he may have Rick Scott on here next time. But these shows are actually air on my television station, so called it Thornton Review. So, but they have their own reasons on why they do what they do. You know.
Mhm.
Well, maybe in the future that's something we could do. I think that would be great.
So again,
It's just I think it'll definitely the viewing audience will increase. It'll be
yeah. And like I said, I don't know about the 2024, but in the 2022 election, okay, except for 2 local school board members, no Democrat advertised with us. Republicans did, okay. They were trying to reach the black community, so they advertised. I had 4 or 5 different accounts with the Republicans, but I couldn't get the Democrat. Even solicited.
Well, we know that's not going to be the case
right.
Good.
We're going to do our best.
we're
Anything
not
that is on
we're
the
not
ballot
worried
after
about that.
August 20th
Yeah.
will be doing business with Vernon
Yes.
Watson.
We got about 3 minutes. Since Jerry's not
All
here
right.
to keep the Jerry's
I
not here
have
to keep the
something.
time.
I got it up for you, so whenever you're ready.
Okay, I'm ready. So on August 26th, the Haley Morissette campaign is hosting a taco bar fundraiser at Cactus Cantina Mexican Grill, which is located at 5121 North 12th Avenue. Come out. The donation is just $25. We'll have some games, some really good food. If you're familiar with Cactus Cantina, they have some really good food. And they will be serving a specialty drink named after Hale called the Hale Raiser. So it's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. So come on out, August 26th, 5 to 7.
All right. Well, certainly, I just want to remind everybody today marks the very beginning of the Democratic National Convention all week. We hope that everybody tunes in to the things that are going on this week and make sure that you pay special attention. We know that we will hear from our Democratic nominee, Vice President Kamala Harris on Thursday. Monday, we'll have tomorrow President Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton will be speaking. On Tuesday, our forever President Barack Obama, the second gentleman Doug Emhoff will be speaking, and Wednesday will be Bill Clinton and Tim Walz with his nomination speech. And then we'll conclude it on Thursday with Vice President Harris. So please make sure you come out. Also, for those of you all who live in Escambia County, Harris yard signs are going to be available this week at the Democratic headquarters for a nominal donation of $10. You can come between the hours of 10 p.m. and 2 p.m. And 11 a.m. and 2 p.m.